Good morning. I'm here to talk to you about Carcass, a death metal, grindcore slash death and roll band from Liverpool. Starting in the mid 80s, on the guitars we have Bill Steer, on the bass we have Joe Walker, and on the drums we have Ken Owen. I wanted to give a ranking of their discography. I'm a big fan of the band, ever have been since I came into them 1991 with Necroticism Descanting the Insalubrious. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to the ranking. On last place, number 7, and I don't really have a show and tell for that one. It's a Reek of Putrefaction from 1988, their debut actually. I have a version of it. This is more... There you go. This is actually the original cover, as far as I'm told, to the second album, Symphonies of Sickness. But this version has 16 songs of the first album on it. I'm not a big fan, neither is the band, by all accounts. The sound is quite grotty. The songs are usually very short, quite chaotic. There are a couple of songs that have redeeming qualities for me, like Piosicified, which had been re-recorded later, fermenting in its feticide, and those, curiously enough, are the longer songs on that album, which already shows you where my allegiance lies: more originality, more tempo changes, more progressive elements, if you want. So let's move on to number 6 for me, which would be Swan Song from 1996. Swan Song being the first album they were able to put out on a major label. They signed with Columbia. Apparently the album before that, Heartwork, was already released by Columbia, but only in the United States. Apparently they got $200,000 for it. But by the time they went into the studio, the record company didn't stand behind them anymore, actually dropped them before it was released, so they went back to their old label, E-Rake, got paid again, not as much probably, and released the album. They refer to this as the second greatest rock and roll swindle, which is quite funny. Anywho, that album is quite, how should you say, simpler to what they usually do. The structures are more simple, the songs are less progressive, for lack of a better word. In latter day interviews, they even claim to have invented nu metal with this one. Funny. Back when that album came out, it had a really bad rap. It wasn't seen as a good album in the press. The fans largely reviled it. The band even broke up, didn't go on to tour with it. And what can I say? It's not as bad as it is. It's not as bad as it's made out to be, rather. Like Keep on Rotting in Free World, Black Star, Child's Play, good songs, all of them. I have a version with an extra song called Emotional Flatline, on a separate single, weird. Apparently in interviews they say that a lot of the good songs were not included on the album. Subsequently there was a compilation called Wake Up and Smell the Carcass, released 1 or 2 years after this, which contained, as the first 5 or 6 songs, other songs that were not included in Swan Song. I had a listen, and to be fair, it's only the bonus song Emotional Flatline that I can really connect with. Is it a bad album? Not at all. It's just less my cup of tea. In 5th place, I'm going to go with Symphonies of Sickness this time. Now, here things do get better. This is where I like all the stuff subsequently. Symphonies of Sickness from 1989. The first 3 songs alone are great. Reek of putrefaction, exhumed to consume, an excoriating abdominal emanation. Holy crap. Which is surprisingly progressive for a sophomore album, a young band like that. After this, a certain Michael Amott will join the band on the live front, and they go into the studio to make another album, which we shall be talking about later. Michael Amott joined the band twice. He did it after this album. He left after Heartwork, rejoined the band again in 2007, but that was pretty short-lived, and left again before the comeback album was recorded. We know Michael Amott from Spiritual Beggars and Arch Enemy afterwards. Right, in my number 4 spot, I'm going to go for Surgical Steel. Their comeback album from 2013. Absolute banger of an album. So you've got songs like Cadaver, Pouch Conveyor System, Granulating Dark Satanic Mills, Unfit for Human Consumption, Captive Bolt Pistol, stuff like that. So we hadn't heard from the band in about 25 years, at least on the album front. They were doing shows again since 2007. Usually the tone was, we're not going to make a new album, or there's nothing like it in the works, and all of a sudden 2013, bam, that thing was in the shops. I was happy for one. It's quite aggressive. It's very much a combination of necroticism stuff with a bit of hard work. Pretty aggressive in the first half of the album, and then more, I wouldn't say calm, but more arranged, more progressive, more thought through in the second half of the album. And weirdly enough, that's what's the clincher for me. The second half is my favourite anyway. So in the number 3 spot, I'm going to go with their follow-up, which is Torn Arteries. So yes, I do like Torn Arteries more than I do Surgical Steel. This came out in 2021, was preceded by a mini LP because of COVID, and finally released in 2021 with songs like Dance of Ixtab, which I really like, although it's very groovy, rather slow, like their Black Sabbath song if you want. Eleanor Rigor Mortis, The Scalp and Blade, Flesh-Ripping Sonic Torment, stuff like that. So, the reason I like this album a bit better than Surgical Steel is basically it's got more elements of Swansong in it, an album which I don't really like, but not because of the musical direction, but more because of the songwriting. So it's got more death and roll dirty parts in it, and it also combines it with the heavy stuff that we know them for forever, basically. So I would say this album is more original than Surgical Steel was. It's my opinion. You can do with it what you want, of course. In my number 2 spot, and this is hard because this changes on a daily basis, I'm going to go with Necroticism this time. So this was my entry-level Carcass album. I bought it as it came out. Love this album to death. I probably listen to it once every 2 months at least. So, yeah. In Propagation, Corporal Jigsaw Quandary, which is probably my favourite song ever by them. Pedigree, Butchery, Incarnated Self, Solvent Abuse. Holy crap, this is just a barn burner start to finish. So, yeah, cannot do without it. Definitely Desert Island Disc. And then we have in the number 1 spot, the Heartwork album. Can we see this at all? Like this? This is where the collaboration with Michael Amott really shines. This is more melodic. This is more in tradition with melodic death metal coming from Scandinavia at the time. It's very much a child of its time, but it's also highly original because that is a style that hasn't been copied that often like other styles have. The first half I like more than the second. The second isn't bad at all. Arbeit macht Fleisch, absolutely. The blind leading the blind. But if you start off with Buried Dreams, you've got No Love Lost, Heartwork Embodiment, there's nothing you can do wrong with that. So yeah, an absolute banger of a band. Let me know your ranking in the comments. I'm looking forward to see how you guys think it is. Unfortunately, just a short video this time. There's only 7 albums, there's not much left to tell. There's not. I'm still waiting for a biography to come out, so maybe there's some in-depth information on all of this. We shall see. Of course, not to forget, they also released a smattering of EPs. Like after Necroticism, they had the Tools of the Trade album, which is really nice. It's got a re-recording of Pyocicified, as I said. It's got a re-recording of Hepatic Tissue Fermentation, which apparently went onto some soundtrack, if I believe, or a compilation. Then you've got the Heartwork EP. I'm not sure if it preceded or came after the Heartwork album, but it's got 2 bonus tracks, Rotten Roll and This Is Your Life, which clearly are in a different vein from the rest of the album. Very fun though, but I would say it's a sign of things to come with Swansong, but in a good way, good songs. Then in 2013 or 14 apparently, it's the Surgical Surplus Steel Surgical Remission EP with leftover and bonus songs from the Surgical Steel sessions, of which I really like Zockrot. I have no idea what it means, if it is a word at all. And then last but not least, of course, the Despicable EP, which was released instead of the album during the COVID pandemic as a teaser. And yeah, not too crazy about this one, except for Under the Scalpel Blade, which was on the album anyway. But the Long and Winding Beer Road is a nice song, but the opening and the closing songs don't do much for me, weirdly enough. Don't connect with it, but fair enough. So there you go. Let me know how you see things, and yeah, I'll be making more of those videos if you like them. Have a good one. Bye.